banger as well.
Mate, how are you? You okay?
I'm good, mate. Look at this. Look at all this shit. Amazing. Wow.
Spent a lot of time on this. Far too much time on
Yeah.
this. This is excessive. That's what people say. I'm just going to check all our audio's working okay. I think yours is. Mine's fine. Anyone in the chat, Alex? I think you're more active than anyone. You can hear us. Is that okay? Just going to double check that everything's working. Seems to be fine.
Tickety-boo.
Mute only. Yeah, all good. That is what we like to hear. I'm just checking my dynamics tomorrow. Cool. Start recording, Ben.
Fuck yeah, good point.
Yeah, let's do that. Forgot about that, didn't we?
We did. It's all a bit too exciting.
Got to do a clap as well.
Shit, that too. Cool. Yep. After you.
3, 2, 1. Yeah. How are you? You alright?
I am very well, mate. I've been looking forward to this all week.
I've quite literally been the same. 2 nights on the bounce doing podcasts, which usually would get me in the doghouse. But Sophie's like, it's not about games. Oh yeah, go and do that. It's fine.
Oh wait, it's not about games.
Anyway, partly is. I think we can probably get away with it. So just literally looking at the songs that you kind of suggested before. You had Dave, Evidence, Cuts by DJ Revolution, obviously. Avellino.
Yeah.
Abracadabra, Pusha T, Kendrick Lamar, Kalashnikov. I'm not even going to try and say this second person on that, otherwise I'll embarrass myself. You can probably say it better than me. Dangoff.
I think it's Scribbler, Dangoff, and Kaiser Say So, I think.
Why rap, Ben? Why rap?
Good. That's a good question. I have always loved it. I think that's the first thing that I loved. Like whatever it was, toys, cartoons. That was the first time, and we're talking like I'm old. We're talking late 80s, probably like 86, 87. Like listening to my brother's old records.
How old are you?
I'm 39, so I'll be 40 next year.
So yeah, God yeah. And I was born in 87, and you were listening to tunes, that which makes me feel a bit harsh about saying that now.
I mean, I was still a kid, obviously, but I've got my brother's 10 years older than me, and he was into he'd like listen to Bros and Madonna and loads of shit as well, but he would listen like whenever he'd play like Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, the show, which has got like Inspector Gadget music on it, like as a sample. And I was like, oh my God, I like that cartoon. I know that music. And I just, and then most of that song is like beatboxed as well by Dougie Fresh. And I was like, how are they making these sounds? And from that point on, it was like love.
So what was it like? Tapes? Literally just tapes and tapes and tapes and reams of tapes?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was whatever records my brother would buy. And just, I have ruined so many of my dad's record players from just trying to scratch on like his old like belt drive record players. I've blown my dad's speakers countless times. I must owe him thousands, because they would like go, I'm talking when I was a little bit older, they'd sort of go out. So I'd get all like my brother's records out, or even my dad's old like soul records. By the time I'd worked out that's how hip hop was made, I'd be like, right, get all, because my dad was a DJ.
Yeah. Okay.
So he had,
my dad was a DJ.
Oh, cool. So he had like crates of old disco records and things like that. So I just go through them and try and make them sound like hip hop on his record player that wasn't supposed to be scratched to fuck. And and it just all came from that, really. Just making a nuisance of myself. And
so I'm guessing those. So I was going to say those boxes, were they like the silvery kind of metal ones with a load of records in, or were they more like? So that's what my dad used to have.
Yeah, I mean, I've got most of his old records here, and most of my brother's old records, because stolen them throughout the years. And I can remember this one crate of 45s that my dad had that he would just that had like his DJ alias, like a sticker on the side of it with his phone number at the time, like proper old. This is like from the 70s. And he'd just walk from gig to gig with this, this little crate of, the little 45s. And I can remember him saying, yeah, and at the start of my set, I used to play the Jaws theme song, and all the lights would go down, and I just walk, because my dad's a big bloke.
Yeah.
And I just walk on stage, and he had like massive, like almost like an afro kind of haircut. And he would just sort of walk on stage like he was the bollocks, and to this Jaws music. I was like, and as a kid, I was like, wow, that sounds cool. I bet you were really cool, Dad, but probably not.
But in hindsight, a little bit creepy.
Yeah. Creepy. A bit rapey, Dad.
There's only 3 people in here. So, all right, Dad, what are you doing?
And that's how he met my mum.
Yeah, well, there we go. That's the end of the series. Now, like, my dad, DJ'd quite a bit. His DJ alter ego wasn't very sexy. It was called Blast from the Past. And it was just like, I had like amazing times. My mum and him broke up when I think I was 5. We lived in Germany. That's where I was born for like 2 years, and we moved over. But yeah, music was always a massive part of my upbringing. And it was soul. Just wall-to-wall soul, but he did a lot of commercial stuff when he was DJing, which he didn't really enjoy.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of his mates were DJing in like Cream and stuff in Liverpool, and like the Paradox, which is like big clubs around here. But he was always just like happy to do his like soul stuff and like get the people moving. He just loved reading a room. So it's just like proper charismatic. But bringing it back to rap then, how did that evolve from listening to it to actually becoming like a lyricist and getting into rapping? Because originally when I first listened to music, I was like, all right, Ben must do the audio for this, and he's the one making the beats, because the white guy from London can't be the rapper. It's not going to happen. I was like, oh fuck, no, that's Ben rapping. He's very, very good.
Yeah. Well, a white guy from Lowestoft, which is like the least street place you could ever go to. Well, I mean, and it was weird to start with, because nobody else was into it. It was like a fad. Like people, until relatively recently, people thought it was a fad, and people just thought, well, the kids are into this hip hop thing and all this break dancing and graffiti. Eventually, it will fade away like it always does. So I was like, it was me and maybe one other mate who was like half into it, and that was it. But I the reason I got into kind of making it, I mean, you can probably relate to this. It's probably just I like getting praise for making stuff, and I from as young as I can remember, like I can remember taking every day. I'd take pictures that I'd drawn of Ninja Turtles to my teachers and go, look at this, like I made this for you. And they'd be like, oh, that's amazing. I'd be like, oh, shower me with all this crap. And literally any time I did something good, whether it was like, I wrote a poem, took it home for my mum to read. Yeah. And mum would just go, oh my God, you're so clever. Oh, what a clever little boy. And it's literally just that. It's just that, well, you start believing in yourself that you can just do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
And I loved this thing. And it's, if I was into reading, I would go like, well, I'm going to write a book now. Like it just feels like that. Like, well, I like this. I could do this. Yeah. At no point have I ever kind of thought, okay, this is just something that I enjoy and I consume, and that's the end of it. Like, I want to be involved. I want to be like contributing to it and seeing what I can make from this thing that I'm passionate about. It's weird. It's just basically narcissism at the end of the day. Which is simple as that.
It is, isn't it? Are you seeing the kids like have similar traits to yourself? Is there anything kind of vibing with them at the moment where they're into the same type of music and ruining your, well, it won't be vinyl, but throwing your iPhone around? Well, it's not even an iPhone. You're not even with the Cool Clan, are you?
They're both really into music. It's lovely. Like, they'll, like, Kingsley loves dancing. Like, when he's allowed to, he does like street dance, and he just loves it. He'll listen to music all day, like on holidays and stuff. He'll sit there with his headphones on the plane, just listening to music, and he was like 6 at the time. That's something that a teenager would do, you would think. And Corey, my youngest, is like, we'll get in a car and he'll just say what song he wants to listen to. So they both really like the Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack.
Banger. Yeah.
And so like Corey will say, when I'm not there, Corey will say to Stacey the name of one of the songs off that. And then she'll phone me and go, he wants to listen to Do. What's that? And I go, oh no, that's Start a Riot. It's on the Spider-Man soundtrack. Play that. Okay, fine. And his favourite song is Shut Down by Skepta.
Really?
Yeah.
Should run around saying ring.
Yeah. So I'll play it in the car and then I'll sort of cough over the bits that he shouldn't be listening to. But yeah, he's young enough to not understand.
Yeah,
no, that particular song's fine, really. There's a couple of questionable words, but yeah.
But mate, considering what we probably grew up on, like I remember we holidayed quite a lot in caravans, which explains a lot. But yeah, holiday in caravan. Yeah, Half and Wye Moor in Haven, in Wales. Big up. And I remember getting 2 albums, and Pete will probably remember this if he's in the chat. But we got Marshall Mathers LP, and I got what was the other one as well? It was Limp Bizkit hot dog flavoured water as well.
Right.
Chocolate starfish and hot dog flavoured water. I remember like mum and dad kind of knew Rolling, and they were like, okay, we'll Rolling. We've heard it. It bleeps out quite a bit on the radio. It's all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay with that. And I kind of got away with Marshall Mathers LP because of that. I got both. And then I remember like maybe 3 days into the holiday, like 7:30 at night, going to bed, and then hearing them listening to it and go, oh my God, he's just said the F word. He's just said the C word. He's just said the F word again.
He's killing his wife.
He's doing a lot of
on
stuff
this song.
Oh, but that's Dido. And then it was just like acceptable. I remember my dad buying the CD about 2.5 weeks later, but he never told me until I was like maybe 7 or 8 years after that, because he was too embarrassed, like be like, oh shit, that was really, really good. But what was like the seminal album when you were growing up? What was the thing that was getting bumped like back to back every week?
Wow, it was it's probably Doggy Style by Snoop. Like that was, I mean, and that is a disgusting album. Like, if you listen to it now, like the misogyny and everything else. But at the time, I mean, it still holds up, like production wise. It's flawless, and like The Chronic before it. But yeah, that particular album, it was like, fucking hell, this is cool. Because I was into more like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, kind of like hippie, Daisy Age kind of rappers before that. And then I heard this sort of really hard West Coast stuff. And that was me from then on. I was like, right, this is what I love now. Like, I want to get a pager. I want to start dealing drugs. This is amazing.
Walking around the house with a bag full of Canderel. Here you go, Mum. What you want?
Like, even to the point, and this is fucking proper nerdy shit, but me and my mates we'd go down the local basketball courts. We take a flask of gin and juice with us.
Really?
And we play like that album out loud, and it's just like we were just that into it. And by that time, it had become a bit more popular because obviously, like the skating scene, people were into Cypress Hill, and they kind of like fused those worlds a little bit. So suddenly, of it just being me and maybe one or two other friends, there was loads of people that were into that kind of scene then.
The scene was
so that
huge.
was quite cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it was massive.
It kind of, I think our generation, sorry, kind of paved the way a little bit. It made it more acceptable because I think people were less like prudish by the time that we were kind of growing up a little bit later, I should say. And it was only a couple of years. I mean, most of the same cartoons you and I probably watched, although there seems to be a bigger gap now between my age group and people that are a similar age gap to you and I. But yeah, I joined a basketball club in Southport because I was like okay, rap music, got to start playing
Yeah.
basketball. I was wearing like Tracy McGrady basketball shoes, thinking I was the bee's knees, buying 2 pairs,
Yeah.
the white and the black ones, so we could mix them like Tracy McGrady. Bought a Wizards Jordan shirt, which in hindsight was the most fucking stupid. I was a fat child wearing a Wizards Jordan shirt. If anyone was going to get bullied, it was that guy, but I purposely did it. Dyed my hair bleach blonde because I was just like, this is the thing, this is what people want to do. And at the same time as like I was listening to a lot of rap, I was starting to play a lot of guitar and heavy metal music and starting to get into that kind of stuff. So and I thought it'd be dead cool playing basketball. And it was just a group of like 12 Filipino people who were amazing. And then they just run rings around me. So I was like, this isn't what I imagined, Ben. But yeah, kind of like evolving from that then. So at what point did you think you said, okay, well, I'm good at this. I've got that praise that's coming in. People want out, I want to make sure that I try and make people happy and that smile. Did you meet a mate and it was this kind of clicking moment where they were making beats? Because I know you've got that friend in the group that does that.
No, So I basically resigned myself to never putting anything out because I didn't know how to make the music side of it. And I didn't know anyone, like there was no one nearby, and I wasn't like talking to people on the internet then. So it was like, well, this is just something that I do as a hobby and keep it to myself. I'd have like pages and pages of workbooks of where I'd written songs and stuff. Yeah, but never thought I'd do anything with them. Then I think it was like mini discs when they came out, and you could loop up the whole like intro section of the song and basically make an instrumental out of it. So I started off doing that. So I'd take like the first 4 bars of "What's the Difference" by Dr. Dre, and just repeat that first 4 bars over and over again, and then rap over the top of it.
Yeah.
In an American accent at the time. So if I ever find that mini disc, I'll have to play you that.
I was going to say you'll have to burn it and then never let anyone else ever hear it ever again.
Mate, it was ridiculous. I was like basically trying my hardest to do my best Exhibit impression, I think, and it's just like,
but trying to find a fucking voice, that's hard. Especially when you're growing up on the West Coast stuff. Like, it's like trying to then personify that into something that you think is going to be acceptable. Yeah, it's rough.
Well, that's the thing, and I think it was probably not until actually on the PlayStation 2 there was MTV Music Generator 2, and I started making original beats from that. Like, it came with this like hardware sampler, so you could actually plug music into it and sample it into the PS2. Really? And that's when I started like making my own loops and my own like sampling breaks. Yeah, from my dad's old records and things like that, and making beats. And you could record your vocals into it as well if you plugged a microphone in. So I did that, and then it wasn't until I went to uni that I purchased like an MPC, which is like a sampling drum machine.
Yeah.
Did a bit of research, bought one of them secondhand from this guy in Bradford or something, and just literally I would just sit in my room at uni, just learning how to use this really pretty complicated piece of equipment from somebody with no musical background whatsoever. And I was just sat there sampling records, and every weekend I'd go to like charity shops, try and get a few records, try and make something out of it. And that was uni for me. I was literally just sat largely by myself, just learning how to make music, and not much else really.
Definitely want to like come back to that kind of feeling later, because that abundance of time, which we probably shouldn't have had at uni. If you were anything like me, you probably should have been studying more or doing all the wonderful things that we should have. But really, that kind of that time to be able to focus on that creativity is something that you do struggle with, but kind of get to that. But so getting back onto that journey then, so when did you kind of have that breakthrough? Obviously, was it the PS3, Ben? Was that when you found it? What was it? Was the Xbox 360? What was the...
What was it? It was, to be honest, it was probably just... It was getting into more UK-centric hip-hop while I was at uni, making me realise, okay, there's people that sound and look a bit like me that are making stuff that I like. So I definitely am okay to do this. Like, as long as I'm doing it authentically, as long as I'm not pretending to be, poor or anything that I'm not, like if I can just be myself, then I can kind of hold my head up around everyone else that's in that pretty small scene. So I just did. I just kind of said to my mate, right, I want to do this. He's always been there with me doing it, although he's never given as much of a shit. I've kind of say, come on, because I didn't want to do it by myself. I just didn't have the balls to do it by myself. So yeah, he kind of reluctantly let me like write some verses for him. So I'd go, right, this is this song. I want you to do the second verse, I'll record it for you, and you just have to copy how I do it. And you take as many takes as you want. But like, I am not going on stage by myself, so you need to fucking learn how to do this. And he did, and then we put it out. This is obviously pre-kids as well, so I had time to get in contact with people and really try and promote it and speak to DJs and speak to promoters and stuff like that, and go to gigs every week and perform. And I had like the hunger to perform as well, and it was fun.
I was going to say, just roughly, how many gigs did you do in total?
Oh, probably only about 30. Something like that.
Still a lot, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, for that small period of time where it felt like, bloody hell, people actually know who we are. I mean, there was shows where there was people in the front row singing along to stuff that I'd written at home 3 years ago, and that was like, this is fucking cool. Like, we were playing at the Jazz Cafe in Camden, and it was rammed. We were just a support act, but it was completely rammed, and everyone was into it. And we did it was like a 90s themed night, so we were doing like 90s versions of our songs, like over beats that they would have heard before. And it was incredible. Like, we've got some video footage of it, and I love just watching it back now and again. Like,
you still get those chills.
Amazing. I do, yeah. It was never my favorite part, the performing side. It was like always just like being by myself, writing, just tinkering with beats and stuff like that, like trying to get everything perfect. But yeah, you do get a buzz when it goes down well. When it's shit, it's really shit.
Yeah. I think it's same with bands. Like, and Pete's probably laughing his head off at the moment watching this, but him and I have like played, God, must be about 50, 60 gigs together. So not much more than what you've done.
Yeah.
Fucking just crack that can open. What are you drinking, by the way?
Club Tropica, of course.
Can't not do a cross players-esque podcast and not talk about what
there we go.
I'm still nursing this Elvis juice. So I've got like 3 cans left, which I'm pretty impressed with. It's lasted a while. On the band side, like, it's because I used to write a lot of the songs, and then I was in a band where I was just playing guitar. I wasn't singing. And then the narcissist in me was like, we could sing. I was like, Gollum, we could sing. Why don't we sing? Let's buy an outfit. We should buy an outfit. And then, getting on stage the first couple of times, like doing it on yourself. And I remember like we started in a bar called like a shit pub called the Head of Steam. And like we built up and we started playing gigs like the Zanzibar Club, which is run by a guy called Tony who passed away a couple of years ago. And then we played like pretty much every single big event or venue in Liverpool. And we got to the point where we were selling CDs at gigs to people that knew our songs, and they were like, we've come in. And it sounds really silly, but there were a couple of girls there and they knew who we were, and they were like, oh, we're following you on Twitter. And we were like, shit, and this is amazing. And one of the Twitter accounts that I've got, which I think is like a cross players backup one, it might be the Switch Island one now that I've moved the name over to, but I got like 2,600 followers on it, and we had a really good group of people. And yeah, man, like it was so much fun. But I was the same as you. The gigs were great, but nothing beat the feeling of coming up with something different. And because it's such a frustrating process of like writing music, when you go away from it really frustrated, like you've sat there for maybe an hour or two, and you've been playing the guitar, trying to come up with a riff, trying to come up with some sort of like vocal harmony that goes with it, walk away, and then you come back to it, and then you write something banging. I'm like, this is amazing. I can't wait to go into the practice room with them, and I can't wait to hear it get recorded and performed in that way. And I think that's where I got more of a kick. The thing that I always struggled with, which is where I've got a lot of admiration for yourself, is the lyrics side. To two-pronged. One, couldn't fucking remember them half the time when I was playing, so I'd just forget them half the way through and then come up with something. And then two, just the actual quality of the lyrics as well. Other than rhyming like the odd kind of thing and trying like girl, oh she's my world, oh my god, build a bear, oh my god, look at her hair, that kind of shit. It was just I never made that breakthrough personally, not in a gig kind of thingy. And we did Battle of the Bands, we did all right, but it was the main fun part was hanging out with Pete, hanging out with Mike, hanging out with Ollie, and just like coming up with new shit and then riffing out together. And some of those practice sessions were the best gigs I ever did. Because we had a group of 4 lads hitting on something, going like, hold on, rephrase that. A group of 4 lads figuring out something together and going like,
the groupies.
Yeah, fucking groupies. Literally sat there drinking cans of Dr. Pepper, laughing our heads off. It was just amazing. So yeah, I get you. I completely get you. But yeah, 30 gigs. It's no slouch.
Yeah, I mean,
Just played some decent places as well. Right?
I mean, we played like, not like the Royal Albert Hall or anything, but like the places where you should play as an up and coming band in London, and played like other, Bristol, Colchester, Leeds, all over the place. It's just, the bad ones are it's always the way. The bad ones kind of stick in your mind. It's like, I can remember doing this festival and they put the headline act on before us, which is like basically just throwing us under the bus completely. So we turned up to this. Funny thing was, every other band there was staying at the festival, like in a tent or whatever. And I've never been. I like being clean. Like
I'm with you.
Like I'm not getting in a tent and washing myself with wet wipes tomorrow. Yeah. Like, so we stayed in a hotel, like 2 miles down the road.
Pete's in the chat at the moment, going like, "Hold on, my fucking stag do's coming up, and it's in the fucking field." I'm there like going, "Pete, don't worry, I enjoy it, but I do prefer to be clean." Sorry, Pete. Carry on, Ben.
So we were there. So we kind of got our taxi in from the hotel, and this just before we were supposed to be on stage, and we saw like the headline act was on, and people were going mental in the tent, and it was like, wow, amazing. Yeah. And then as soon as they finished, everyone else fucked off out of the tent, and there was like 2 guys standing there just like that.
One with his dick out.
Yeah, we literally went, we don't want to be here. Do you really want to be here? And they were like, no. So we just gave them some free CDs and got off stage. It was just, soul destroying. But I think the best thing is just that coming out with a new idea, sharing it with your mates, them going, fucking hell, this is amazing. And it's that same thing we were talking about right at the beginning. It's that, look at this thing that I made. Isn't it brilliant? Aren't I clever? And it's just that affirmation, just getting it from your friends. Like, same. Very simple creatures, really.
But I think that's like the perfect segue into kind of what we're doing now. And really, in terms of like, even this is very much me being like, look at what I'm doing to you guys. Like, as much as I'm trying to impress myself and trying to get somewhere, like, as a group of guys, the getting all the fucking bullshit all to one side, like the idea of a community and all this kind of wonderful stuff that people kind of glamorize, like, we've got a really good group of mates that we like creating content for. And then the pull of all of the other stuff is like, but it would be great to get more people into that group. Because it's partly my fault. I think every single time we get someone that really likes something, I'm like, do you want to come in the group, please? And then it's like, you're part of the group now. And I think that is the kind of friendship kind of circle we've got now with content creating. Is that kind of how you feel about it all? Is it a little bit different, a little bit more mature now?
No, it's definitely no more mature.
Mature. No,
definitely not mature. That is the wrong word. No, it's the same thing. Like I love making this stuff with you guys. Like whatever it is that we do, I enjoy it. I enjoy spending time making something that even if one person listens to it or one person watches it and enjoys it, and I guess that's where it's become less of a selfish thing, where it used to be all about like me feeling good about myself. Now it's half that, but the other half is like, well, if this is helping you, amazing. And it did feel a bit like that with music, because I did feel like I was writing stuff from more of an everyman perspective than your normal kind of rap or hip hop would be. And that was a really good feeling. It was like, I'm getting like nerds coming to me and going, "Oh, this is brilliant. Oh, I understand that reference. Oh, you mentioned ghouls and ghosts in a song. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, you've read Bukowski. Oh, that's so fantastic." All right, back off. But but like,
Close your mouth.
and it's the same. It's the same thing that we're doing now. It's like, if one person goes, "Oh, cool, this is really good fun." Like Mark in our chat today said he doesn't normally like Let's Plays, but he really enjoyed that Katana Zero one that I've done, because I think he just liked laughing at me failing. And that's enough for me. Just one person going, "Yeah, that was brilliant. I enjoyed that."
But it's no different, is
Love
it?
it.
It's like literally the same as what you've done in the past, where you're trying to figure something out, whether it's a beat or whether it's a bit of tech now, where you're trying to like content create, or well, what works for me to kind of be authentic in that same vein like you used to do. That's the hardest part, is trying to find like a niche and a groove where we kind of fit. That isn't, you know, a lot of other content creators or you know, YouTube people, where they'll literally find a vein of something that like a gap where they'll come up with something, I don't know, like top 10 trees to plant in Animal Crossing will make 500,000 views and will get me the views. Whereas I think for us, it's like, how hard can I make Ben laugh? Or, you know, how much can I make Andrew like really, really enjoy this next hour? Or, you know, how can I make Lewis feel more comfortable? Or how can I get Steve to like wet himself laughing? Like, they're the things that feel more, even in the WhatsApp group we've got, like, if you put something in there and we're all aiming to try and make each other happy or laugh in whatever way it is. So yeah, I get it. I completely get it. It's just trying to reframe that as well, to go, well, okay, and this is where I struggle and fall down. We're doing brilliant stuff. How do we do better? Or how do we get it out there to more people?
It is difficult, isn't it? Like, trying to marry that enjoyment that we clearly have and that our small group of friends get from it, is marrying that to like an ambition to think, actually, like a confidence, like, we know this is good.
Yeah.
Like, people tell us this is good. We enjoy doing it. We, you know, take a lot of time and effort putting everything together. We try to make it look like we haven't taken time and effort, but we really have. And it would be great if, you know, those 60 people that watched the last episode of the Crosscast put a few extra zeros on the end of it. You know, that would be amazing. It really would be, because I think it feels like we do have something unique, like extremely unique. And it will always bother. I know it bothers you and I a lot that it's not.
I think you're about to say more, and I think I agree. Probably more, because there's an element of competitiveness in you that I don't think I see in a lot of other people, and I think that comes from a certain kind of upbringing, certain kind of lifestyle. Like, you are like that naturally, and I think I gravitate towards people that are like that, because you tend to get I always make a joke about it, but the narcissist in me. I make a joke about it, but it's fucking accurate. So yeah, I get it. I think it's not like the guys don't care as much, because that's completely incorrect. I think where it comes from entirely, it's just it might not, how to phrase it properly. It comes from a place of like, I want to win, and it's completely irrational, but I just wouldn't want to stop until we were the best at something. Whether that was writing music, and again, that was a hard kind of lesson to learn when I was younger. You come across bands and you listen to bands and you play with bands and you go, dear God, I can never do what they do. And that's a really hard lesson to learn. And I think it's a good one to learn when you're young. But when you get older, there is that similar kind of vibe again of like, well, what can I do now to improve, or what can I do to try and help push people on? And without then getting into like a work mode, i.e. doing the same things that I do for a job, it's hard to balance that out. But you tend to do that a lot better than I do. And you tend to be a lot more, like in this group, you're the leader, I'd say, in terms of a voice and the person that actually gives people... I know you don't feel like that, but I do. But the gravity that I think you give to people is more important than, I don't know, the urgency that I try and give at times.
If I can be diplomatic about it, I think it's the two of us, really. I think the driving comes from you, because I, and I think everyone else probably sees you as the leader. But I do think like the two of us works well. I feel like we're marriage counselling now.
No.
I feel like,
thank you for joining the sit down. This was just a podcast to get Ben to admit that I was the leader. Thank you, Ben. See you later. Fuck you, Andrew.
But no, I think that, like, and all the great, like, the people that I've worked for people that there tends to be like two people that are driving stuff. Well, there's one like driver who will motivate people and be the asshole and be like the bad guy, and then there would be someone that would put the arm around people and go, come on, like, we're all in this together, blah blah blah. And I think we complement each other like that.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. I think that's that's probably accurate. I think if I've learned anything over the last like couple of years regarding like content creation, it's more... Content creation sounds so poncy, but when you're like making shit, regardless of what it is, in this kind of format, you've got to be... If you're gonna talk about altruism and get the piss taken out of you for it, you've got to live by it properly. And there's negatives to that. You've got a group of like 15 people, 20 people who have all got a kind of an equal stake in some of this, who don't have equal time, don't have equal responsibilities. Like some people do more than others certain months. That's a hard thing to manage and balance, I think, when you've got the time to like character type to push something forward. And I think that's where you balance it really, really well, and I think it complements certainly the fury that I tend to have like now and again, which I think I'm getting better at. I think
well, that's what I was about to say. That you've definitely, in the few years that I've known you, you've calmed down, I would say. Like, you will pause and think and ask, is this the right thing to do? Like, is this going to help, or is this going to fuck everything up? And you know, and you do that now, and that's, and I, you know, the other side of the coin, I think I've learned from you that you can't always be the nice guy. Like you do, like I'm definitely more of a cock, having met you.
That's the best compliment I could ever fucking get. Love you, mate. Thank you for that. I think, I don't know where to go with that now. Jesus Christ. Here goes my my acumen now for trying to host the podcast. Like, yes, you're right, definitely. And I think the weird thing is, like, if there is anyone from my work watching this, then they know what I'm like in work. I tend to be like the most diplomatic. I get called like the lobbyist, like the politician in work, because I'm level-headed. I'm the one that's trying to mediate a lot of the time, trying to see it, the shoe on the other foot kind of stuff. But when it's us guys, and when I see potential, and that's a word that you and I use a hell of a lot when we talk, when you can see potential, and like, Andrew's fucking fantastic. The books he writes, like, literally, I've read, the Dreamcast Year 1 cover to cover like 4 times, and I'd sit there and it's sorry, Andrew, you're probably gonna exclusive on the podcast at this point. It's my toilet reading material, where I'll go and thumb through a couple of pages while I'm sat there and go through it. And it's because it's comfort food. Again, I talk about that a lot, but it's a great book to read. And I think I look at Steve and his voiceover work, and I think, man, like, even last night when we were on the podcast, and Austin was like going, oh, you sound like you're doing a voice, or you're a voiceover person. And Steve kind of went, I could see it tweaking in him, and I could see that kind of like realization of like, shit, I'm really, really good at this. Like Pete is my best mate, and whenever I see the way he works, and obviously in his line of work, like the realization that I'm getting good at something, like I could fucking cry when I see people get that way.
Yeah.
So as much as I compliment being a twat with people, it's that empathy, I think, towards like seeing people succeed that frustrates me even more. Yeah, and that's where I'm like,
yeah, but it is frustrating because you like we have got all the pieces in place that we could be, up there with, these big kind of YouTubers and podcasts and stuff. We really do, and I don't think that's just blind self-belief. I think everyone has got something. Like Lewis, I could just listen to Lewis talking all day, not understand any of it, but I could listen and try. And like he's just like the warmest person I've ever met. Like you just gravitate to him. Like I just want to hug him all the time.
Yeah.
And it's the same. Like all the lads have got really unique talents, and I know we all take the piss out of each other, but it's like it's a special group.
It's huge.
It really is.
Every single person in that group, and it's the it's trying to nurse the right stuff out of it. And I think, like you said with Lewis, he's just between a couple of you, like I'd say you're very, very, very close mates. More so than people hold very dear to myself. Like it's insane how we've met over the internet and we've actually created that bond. And I think that's one of the really special things over the last couple of years, and something that will always get me, hyper emotional, hyper happy. Especially over lockdown, we literally had each other, and I'll always remember Movember, not just for the the personal kind of importance of it, but also because we had a group of people there that put fucking no effort into maybe 3/4 of that month, and then at right last minute, I was shaving my head. You guys were on streams, we were laughing our heads off and having an absolute ball as a group. That was special. Trying to reframe it back to kind of your experience with it, but what's been your highlight? Has it been kind of like your emergence? Because obviously you did the Switch Play stuff and then kind of dipped your toe in there. Was that where it started, or did you do anything before
that?
Hold on.
I think it was like
emergence first, then highlight after. I'm trying to get better at this, so let's fucking ask questions.
It was right. So I think it was. Fucking hell! This is gonna come back to the same narcissism again. But it was when the Switch came out, I started getting into podcasts, and I was like listening to the Adam Buxton podcast at the time, and then I think I pre-ordered a Switch and thought, I'll see if there's any Switch podcasts, and started listening to a few of them that had started putting shows out before the Switch had even come out. And then kind of just went down that rabbit hole, listening sort of, and then I think I made a Twitter account in like January 2018, just so I could follow some of the podcasts that I was into, including the Switch Island. I don't know if you've heard of the Switch Island. And it was just like I'd made a conscious decision, right, this year I am going to start getting into this like community. Like I this is what I'm into now. I'm not that interested in music anymore. Like this, like the Switch has had that big an impact on me. It was like, fucking hell, this has reignited like my other childhood passion. And then, so I literally just said, right, I'm going to start putting myself out there. I'd never really been like literally prior to January 2018, I didn't have like an online presence at all. Like other than promoting the band, there was no like, I didn't speak to people. I didn't do the whole like chat room thing, whatever that, I literally, that was it. Like I'd speak to people that I was trying to promote my music to, and that was it. And then I basically decided, right, I'm going to make inroads into the sort of gaming community because these people seem all right and I'm into this now, so I should try and like become friendly with them. And by the end of that year, I'd sort of started talking like to you guys, talking to some other like podcasters and stuff, and people that follow in the gaming community. And yeah, I think literally I think I got that. I can't remember if it was when I got that Elgato, the HD60, and put a picture of it on Twitter, because you can't, what's the point in buying something if you can't post a picture of it, So, and you responded with like, join us.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then I was actually reading our initial DMs the other day.
Well, yeah.
It's like, yeah. It was really nice to read that back, because we were really like friendly to each other and complimentary.
Nothing like we are now.
No. And it was just like, do you want to come on, have a conversation with us, and see if you fancy doing something? No pressure, podcast, videos, whatever you want to do. And then I ended up making that 2018 Switch Up song and video.
Yeah,
and I think that was the first thing I contributed to the Switch Island, wasn't it? That
we say it was. I think it was. We approached you, and then I saw that, and I was just like, because Pete was always really tentative over like bringing more people in, and like obviously we brought Mark on, and it was like really great. Everything was working really well, but that urgency was always hitting me of like, we need to move more, we need to do better, we need to. That, to be fair, that part's gone now, but at the time, you were the first person that kind of brought in. I was like, shit, okay. Spoke to Mark in a car park a couple of weeks ago on the telephone when I was playing football. Fucking weird. And obviously, he joined it, and then you kind of came over, and it's like, you gave us this video, and you've been like, I've really been working on this for ages, like, and you put the logo on it. What do you think? And I was just like, fucking hell, this is incredible. And it can't talk about this without referencing Bobby, which is something that you and I have kind of like spoke about a couple of times. But mate, that guy he was like, can I put this on my channel? Can I talk about this? Can I do that? Guys, this is amazing. And instantly, like, it was like a lovely, lovely bond that was created. Do you remember too much about that when it happened at the time?
Yeah, I mean, so I think it was Toby that played it to him. I think Toby had come across it and then said to Bobby, there's this rap song that's got Sean referenced in it, and like Nintendo Dad's referenced in it. And I think Bobby heard it and was just like, went crazy, and sort of said, like, we have to get. I mean, he obviously didn't know my age at the time. We have to get this kid on. Like, give this kid a shot. And he was like messaging me saying, "Oh, how can we work together? Do you want to do something? Do something with us? Put make a song of blah blah blah." And I was like starstruck, because I'd spent a year listening to this guy. Like, this was incredible. Like really. Hang on, am I peers with you now? Like, are we mates? And it was the same with you. I don't mean to boost your ego, but I was pretty, like, you guys were the only British podcast I was listening to.
Okay.
And it was like, and I loved it, because it was just like, yeah, again, same with listening to British rappers. It was like, okay, this is cool. I could do this.
Yeah.
These guys are good. This is funny. This is intelligent. I like this. And
funny and intelligent. I remember that. If we can have that in writing at all, and pop that on the CV.
It was. I said it was funny.
It was funny and intelligent. Yeah. Good point. It's
good old Mark.
To be fair, he was the intelligent one. I'd probably take the claim for the funny one, and Pete was like literally the intelligent and funny one. So yeah, I'll go with that. Then we've got Andrew on. It all went downhill. That was terrible. I think the Switch Island side of things, like, even I know we talk about Breath of the Wild a lot, and the way that game got us back into gaming in a way that we kind of didn't expect, because it brought that feeling back. The thing that I'm kind of wanting to ask people in the gaming community more and more is, have you had that feeling since, in terms of, have there been games that have kind of gripped you in the same way as Breath of the Wild? And not in any way to try and like diminish Breath of the Wild, but almost to kind of amplify where gaming is now as a medium. It's difficult to say. Like, I've had
like probably most recently, like I'm looking at it now, I've got God of War as my desktop background.
Yeah.
I think if I'd have played God of War after a decade of not playing any video games and without any other video games to distract me, I would have gone, well, this is the most amazing video game of all time.
Yeah.
It's the fact that I'd had this famine and then the feast of Breath of the Wild on this brand new system that I could play as an adult, like not having to sit there in front of the TV and ignore my partner. Like I could actually, it worked with my life then, and that was. It could have. I think it could have been any game, any really good game. Like if it was Persona 5,
Yeah.
God of War, whatever it might be. If it had have come along at that time on that console, and was that good, yeah, it could have been the same. But obviously now I've gone from, not really being that into gaming since probably GameCube era. From GameCube to Switch, there was FIFA, basically.
Yeah.
A bit of Titanfall,
Yeah.
bit of FIFA. That was about it. And then so when Breath of the Wild hit, it was like wow, and there was nothing else to distract me. That was the only game I had, apart from like snipper clips or whatever. Whereas now it's like, yeah, I could get an amazing game, but I'm also on a podcast now, and I don't want to be talking about this every week. And there's loads of other factors at play. I've got 2 other consoles. I've got a whole other child. There's like lots of moving parts to distract me from focusing on one game and being that invested into one thing now. It's just like that kind of choice paralysis as well. So
kind of gone down.
It'll probably never happen again.
Yeah, I'm going to say gone down a hole I think that most of us have there in terms of like thought pattern. But when something grips, and I'm trying to think of something over the last maybe like 2 years since Jesse was born, where I've literally found the game and gone, you know what, this is incredible. This has got something that's going to keep me engaged. In terms of like when I have free time and I'm not just sticking RuPaul on the telly. Not that there's anything wrong with RuPaul, fucking fantastic TV show, but like trying to find something that gives me that feeling again. Because I got it with The Witcher 3. We spoke about that drunk in a hotel room in London. Recording a podcast with Rich there. Need to make clear we're all fully clothed. I got that vibe with The Witcher 3, and it was after buying a PS4 and playing Bloodborne and being like, I don't really enjoy this. I bought a PlayStation 4. Bought it for FIFA, so I could play Kahinde, who's like the manager in the Leeds office. Him and I could play over online and dick each other. Well, I think it ended up like 40 seasons to 3 on Ultimate Team to me. Competitive again, Ben. So yeah, when I played The Witcher 3, I got that feeling. And it was like this incredible game, this lovely kind of like these vista views. The music is just so much more like atmospheric than anything else before. And gaming over those couple of years was like bit part. I think I played like 400 hours of The Witcher 3, and then it kind of drifted off again. And then the Switch was getting spoken about. And Pete and I were talking about it in the band room a lot. And he was going like, Switch coming out, probably going to wait a couple of months until it comes out and see what it's like. But there's this new Zelda game coming with it. It's meant to be amazing. So like one night I just started watching a YouTube video about it, and I don't know what gripped me. I think it was the E3 presentation when it was just Zelda. And there was still like a mystery around the game, even though they showed, a shitload of it. And everything down from like the music to like the Ghibli-esque kind of artwork, and then the way it kind of worked. I was like, okay, I'm going to get Switch Day 1 to piss Pete off because he's not going to get one. So let's see how it goes. And I picked, of course. And I picked it up on the morning of the day we were about to go and fly out to Portugal to look at wedding venues, which is the touriest thing I think I've ever said. And that says something. And played it all the way to Portugal and was just completely enamored with it. And then played it all the way home on the flight. Bought a Switch controller in Portugal, and just like fell in love with this console immediately because of that game, and it was just insane. And I talk a lot about the games that kind of followed and preceded after it, like Horizon and even God of War to some extent, because I played Horizon and was like, this just isn't gripping me. I played God of War for the first hour and I couldn't get into it. And then it clicked. And I think with God of War, it was the first time I'd thought about a game and gone, shit, okay, there is more out there than just Breath of the Wild. You know, there are more experiences to have. This medium's going to get stronger over the next couple of years, and I want to speak about more and more content or more and more subjects around that matter. I want to invest my time into knowing where this medium's going to go.
It's a tricky trade-off, isn't it? Because like you want to be able to talk about new experiences, and in a way, so I don't watch a lot of TV. Like the only TV I'll watch is if we're having like a couples night, and then I'm like, okay, well I'm doing this because you know I have a partner and she likes watching TV. Like, and it's nice, but I wouldn't ordinarily give myself a pass. Like I feel like I'm wasting time watching TV.
Yes,
and I always have. Like I would go, right, well I'm, you know, talking years ago, I would go, right, well I'm going to make music on a Monday night, a Wednesday night, a Friday night, Saturday night, and then we can do something the other nights, because I can't sit there and vegetate and watch telly. And people will say, okay, but you do that with video games. But I think I justify that by, okay, but I am doing it so that I can then talk about it or make content based around it. Like it's not just wasting time. It is wasting time. It's not just that. But I do think there's that, but there's also like, I think I also chase that high that Breath of the Wild gave. And I'm deliberately choose to be ignorant about games. Like, I don't know if you probably have noticed this, it's pretty obvious, but like I will like not watch trailers. Like, I didn't watch the Breath of the Wild trailer. I didn't know anything about it. I knew I loved Zelda. I knew this new console looked very cool, so I knew I wanted one. I didn't watch that Turtles game trailer that came out the other day, because I'm like, I'm in. I am so in on that. Like, I loved that growing up.
Yeah.
Just one screenshot, knowing the type of game it is. That's all I need to see. I didn't know anything about Persona 5 other than what you'd said about it. Anything about God of War other than what you'd said about it. Like, I think I'm just constantly chasing that surprise and that that high of something blowing me away, which is again why I've kind of staggered. I didn't jump straight from the Switch to the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. I was like, okay, well, I think I'll be pretty blown away if I get a PS4 and an Xbox One. And that will tide me over for a couple of years. And then I can be blown away all over again once the new consoles have matured. And it's crazy, the games that you play with your own mind. But yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with that thought. It's just
I completely get it. I think it's there's probably like a fucking German word for it. They seem to like hit the nail on the head for weird kind of vibes, but it's similar to like when you love something so much, like an album, and someone else loves it, and you're like, I love it a little bit less. Like it's a similar kind of like pull of how a human being can be constructed. And when it comes to games, like some people are just built differently. Like your appetite to try and surprise yourself and give yourself that, let's call it the SNES vibe. Like, because my nan would come home with maybe 5 or 6 games. She worked in a charity shop, Roy Castle. Literally would provide 5 or 6 games that she bought for 50p each. And she used to work in there, pay for them, bring them home. And I would play like Double Dragon. I would play Star Fox. I'd play, Super Metroid, whatever it was. Any of these games I'd experienced through literally the look of my nan picking something up in a charity shop, 50 pence or whatever it was for a game. The vibe and the excitement that gave me when I was younger, I didn't recognize it enough. And it was no different to buying like Pokemon cards when I was a bit older, of like £2.50 pack, what am I going to get in there? That excitement is insane. But to then extend that, not just from a right, I'm going to have an immediate gratification for, oh shit, I've got the shiny card in a Pokemon card, to I'm going to get 40 hours, 50 hours, or let's be realistic at that age, weeks, months, years of playing this game over and over again and enjoying it. Like, nothing can beat that feeling. No. And that's why, like, as much as it's chasing the dragon to some extent, but it's also like, well, how do you explain that to someone that doesn't know that feeling? It's alien to them.
Yeah, it's weird, and like it causes not conflict at home, but it's. I don't think like Stacey will ever fully understand that.
Yeah.
Like the same way, even like making music, I don't think she ever really gets the why I feel like I have to do it. Like, but it's that, I don't know. It's the fact that we are making content off the back of it is what keeps me coming back to it and keeps that sort of hunger for it. I don't think I would just, I don't think I'd allow myself to just sit and play video games if we weren't doing something else, or if it wasn't, if we weren't all talking about it. If it was just me sat playing games by myself, I think that would weigh too heavy on me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I am just a bum now. Like, and it would literally like, and I would be hard on myself and be like, I can't do this anymore. Sorry, and I would stop enjoying it. But it's the fact that it feeds into this community, and you get it back, and it's kind of just cyclical. Yeah. And you talk about a game, you find a new game that no one else has heard of, and you get excited about it, and then somebody trusts you enough to try it, and they love it as well, or they tell you about a game that they think you would enjoy, and it's as you say, during lockdown, that has been like an absolute godsend.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
Having a group of mates that already know how to connect remotely, because it's all we've ever done.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's been a lifesaver. Like, literally, probably a lifesaver for some of us.
Yeah, completely. It's horrible to think in that way, as in, but also lovely. I mean, a lot of the struggles I think that all of us have gone through are trying to connect more with people when you are the most distant from them. And a lot of my mates, probably some of yourself, disparate interests, nothing like what I'm into.
No.
A couple of them might play card, or might play a couple of older kind of games, but not to the extent of trying to talk about an indie game like Hollow Knight and then getting Lewis banging on about it every couple of weeks. So everyone in the group then tries it because it's on sale for £4 and everyone loves it. Like the antithesis of the game club, like where Andrew was like, okay, this is what we want to try and do, albeit an idea that's been done multiple times everywhere else. It's just, it works for a group of people like us. And I think because we're then able to champion our thing, talk about it, show the people the work that we've done, get that feeling like you said that you did when you were a kid. Like, it's no different to what we're doing now, what we're doing now as a group. Yeah, all right, Andrew got us to buy Resident Evil 2 that no one's actually played because they're petrified of the game. But when it comes to when it comes to all the other stuff, that we're playing on Game Pass, or Overcooked 2 with you guys at the weekend, or me playing Persona 5 and actually getting you guys to get the buzz out of it, like, it's that vibe again. It's something that's been immensely important over lockdown.
Yeah.
Pathylos us in the chat. Yes, lovely having you guys, as I don't have a lot of mates available in real life. None of us do.
No.
And that's the thing, is like, group of mates like us who are over a certain age that all love games. Like, it's rare, very rare.
It's lovely.
On the lockdown subject, have you enjoyed it? How have you found it?
Yes, we're brilliant.
Bit of humor.
Yeah. No, not at all. No, I thought I would, and I think for a time I did.
Yeah.
But no, it's been fucking awful. It's been horrible.
It's terrible, isn't it? I know.
Like, I'm so bored of going to parks. Like, I don't care if I never go to another fucking park in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like, they're all the same. It's just trees, isn't it?
mate, like
trees and paths and some
trees
ducks.
and yes, some ducks. Although Jesse just started saying quack quack, and it goes wow wow, and it's the most adorable thing in the world, and I want to cry every time I hear it. But I was saying this about our house. Like our house is fine. Our house is great in terms of it's a lovely, lovely house. But I'm sick to death of the fucking house because we've probably been in a house the equivalent of what you would in a normal house, like 4 or 5 years, over the course of a year.
Yeah.
So it's very, very hard for me not to walk around it and go, don't like that. Don't like the wallpaper. That looks stupid. That over there needs to change. It's been fucking tough. Like just on a really granular level up to the kind of the high level part of. I don't really think people understand how much this probably fucked people up, and especially from an employment perspective, I don't think people have recognized how hard it is actually working from home.
No, I mean, I speak to a few people in America now and again, and I think there's certain parts of America that basically never really had much of a lockdown.
Yeah.
Like, that coronavirus, it's all made up, isn't it? And I don't think it is hard to convey without sounding like you're just moaning.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you can properly appreciate. And even when you're in the eye of the storm, I don't think we necessarily can appreciate the ramifications of this. Like what it's done for people's mental health. Like I'm noticeably more short-tempered and lethargic, and just kind of just belligerent and not giving a toss, and that's horrible. And it's just because I'm really fucking fed up of being stuck indoors. It sounds like such a horrible, like, oh, you poor thing, having to stay in a nice house. But like, I like getting out. I like going places, and particularly like for the kids, like they're fine, they're happy.
Yeah.
But like, you want to show them new experiences and. Take them places, get them active, and it's really bloody hard, even to motivate them. Like they love going out, but now it's almost a struggle sometimes because it's like, what are we going to do? Walk around the block again?
Yeah.
Great. Well, you can use your scooter if you want. Yeah, okay. And it's it's been really, really just life changing. But don't get me wrong. I think life changing in a good way as well. I think there are upsides to it. I do think work-life balance is better.
Yeah.
Now,
I agree.
I don't know if we're given the option. I'm sure most people that I speak to don't have any kind of plans to go back to the office full time.
No, same.
Like,
I agree.
I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I'll do maybe a day or two in the office. I don't know if employers are going to have something to say about that, but I think the world has changed, and probably that side of it, forcing these kind of old businesses to get with the times a little bit, has probably been a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's, why we've proved ourselves for a year as a country that we can keep going, keep working in certain jobs from home. So why do that? Why do I need to turn up to show my face, to sit at a desk so you can see me look like I'm working? Why not just, trust your employees to work like they have been for the last year? So I think that's probably one of very few positives that's come from it.
Yeah. I think without getting too overtly political, because both had a couple of beers and it's 5 to 10 at night and we're probably here for a while. But in terms of the way that the country's handled it, are you happy with that? Do you feel it could have been better?
I feel like it. Yeah, I feel like if we'd have had a kind of a stronger hand to start with, then I think the window would have been a lot shorter. Like if we'd have just gone, right, there's a killer virus on the loose. Everyone stay at home.
Yeah.
Nobody come out until it's gone.
Yeah.
Like that's as simple as that. You can't go out. If you go out, you're going to get arrested unless you've got a damn good reason. Like, and just lay down the law and just say, because it was the grey areas and and we're easing. Now we're easing. Things are looking brighter. Like, that's great, and I understand that you don't want the economy to stagnate. So of course you want to start reopening businesses and things like that. But I mean, it's prolonged things. That sort of indecisiveness. I think if we'd have just gone, this is fucked up. Everyone needs to stay indoors. Otherwise, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die.
Yeah.
Once we've got a handle on it, you can come out again. But we are shutting down. We don't know how long it's going to take. Probably 6 months. But that probably would have been better than, a year we've had of it now?
Yeah. Year off
Pretty
and
much
on.
bang on a year.
But even then, you look at the way the other countries have kind of handled it. New Zealand being like the top tier, I think, response, and it's just a case as soon as one case is there, everyone's in lockdown. Right, everyone home. Real firm hand, and I think as much as it's been quite difficult for people over there, and regardless of what your political leaning is, there's young people now that can go to festivals. There's young people that can go to gigs, live their lives. Kids can go to soft play. Everyone can go to the beach. And you think, yeah, we probably should have done what they did. That makes sense. I'm not an expert by any definition. I'd always say that from a medicinal perspective. I'm not a doctor, but from a common sense perspective, seeing the impact that it's had to people's health and well-being, I would have preferred to have just locked down for 6 months, 7 months, whatever it was going to be, keep people indoors, and then got to that kind of stage of just this is going to happen. But just try and lift the conversation up, because I think that is a negative subject, and we've had a good run this far, Ben. It's been nice. So,
Been nice.
What's the plan then for when we come out of lockdown from your side as a family guy, as obviously pretty damn successful professional? Have you got any aspirations that you want to try and do over the next couple of years, or what's the crack? I know you got a wedding to kind of plan for, but other than that, what's the goal? What's the dream?
Honestly, holidays.
Yeah.
Really?
Quite frankly, are big on holidays as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's I love holidays, but Stacey, it is her be all and end all.
Yeah.
She'll go to me, oh, do you fancy maybe going here in August, blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, because I find it really difficult to get excited about stuff unless it's happening tomorrow. And planning holidays, I absolutely despise, but she loves it. But she'll go, do you fancy that? And I'll be like, yeah. And she'll be like, you don't really care, do you? Should we just not go? You don't care. But no, I do. I really, really want to go away.
Is it tomorrow? No.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
But then come back to me nearer the time. I love holiday. I like it. Again, it's an upbringing thing. It's that's why my dad worked hard.
Yeah.
It's to pay for a roof over our head, and so that we could hopefully go on holiday maybe once a year, even if it is just a caravan park. It's that's it. It's Christmas in the winter and it's a holiday in the summer, and that's what you live for. And if we can, get away to the Caribbean or something, just for even 7 nights, 10 days, whatever. Just we're even the kids. Yeah. Kingsley said to me yesterday, I wish I could open a portal and go to Barbados. You're damn right, son. Yeah, I feel exactly the same.
Work on that right now, because you could be a genius one day, and next Elon Musk, you'll be fine. It'll be okay. Yeah, mate, I need to talk to you about that, because I'm always worried about holidays, because as a young parent still, parent of a young child. Let's be honest. It still frightens the life out of me, and I can't imagine it being very relaxing. But are they?
Oh,
Yeah.
it depends on your mindset. Like when I'm on holiday, I'm on holiday.
Yeah.
Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Eat what you want. Make as much mess as you want. Have some fizzy drinks. Whatever. I don't care. Want some ice cream? Yeah, have some ice cream. And that, yeah, I completely switch off. Like all of my, all the like any discipline, everything else just goes out the window. It's just like I don't care. I just don't care. Let's just have fun, be silly, just have a laugh, jump in the pool. Like literally, we'll spend all day in the pool. I don't care. Let's play. I'll make a tit of myself. I don't care about all these strangers saying, "Why is this grown man like doing bombs into the pool with his tiny little children laughing their heads off?" I'm like, I'm just here to be a kid.
Yeah.
And that's what I look forward to. So it's as stressful as you want it to be. If you take that with you, like I've taken Corey on like by myself to Jamaica.
Yeah.
Like just me and him on a flight when he was 6 months old.
Right.
Just me and him. Yeah. That's a long old flight.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously, and a lot of, like, even on the return flight, the woman was like, "Oh, where's the mother?
Yeah.
Is you just looking after him by yourself?" It's like, yeah, he's my son. Like, it's kind of pretty qualified. But it's fine. I just think a lot of times things are as stressful as you make them. Like, it's not great if you've got a crying child next to you, but he was fine, and I was drunk, so it didn't matter. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't drunk. It was fine. But no, in a way, because I'm quite a nervous flyer, but having him there, it's like something else I can focus on.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not worried about me anymore. I'm just making sure he's cool. If I can get him to calm down so I can play a bit of Switch, I'm winning,
That's the goal.
Yeah, exactly. That is basically my life. Is right. Can I get the kids to bed? Can I get Stacey watching Silent Witness or some other shit? Or I can just chill out and play some Switch. Yeah,
quite literally know exactly what that's like. But look, mate, in terms of like, you know how much love and respect I've got for you, and I probably tell you too much of anything, but the way that you conduct yourself, I think you're a giant of a man, and I'm proud to be your friend. And I think the way that you are as a father, the way that you are as a man, is a lot of things that, like, you've tempered me at times, which is something that's never been easy for a lot of my closest mates, let alone someone that I met over the internet a few years ago. The reason that I want to do this podcast with you first is because I always wanted to get to know you better, and you're one of the few people that I'd be like, yeah, I really want to live near you, because I would love going for a pint with you every couple of weeks and doing that. Say the same for most of the guys in the group, but I think you and I have always had that kind of connection in terms of where we both want to get to as individuals, although we can't name it, and we certainly don't have a ceiling. We've got that kind of mutual respect, and I love you for it. So thank you for doing this with me, and thank you for making it easy to kind of bed in and answer questions about shit that was probably, I don't know, inappropriate or difficult to answer.
Not at all, man. I've enjoyed it, and I love you too, and I'm proud of all this that you've done. And I hope that you
it's okay.
Go from strength to strength and keep it up.
Yeah, same with you.
Okay.
Literally, we won't stop. We can't stop now. Don't think we've got option. Yeah, hold each other accountable. So, song that we're going to kind of play out to, White Noise. Talk me through it just before we kind of wrap the shit up.
Oh, God.
Can I get your official permission to play this at the end of the podcast as well? Would that be okay? Because I think I can do that.
You can, yeah. If you need a copy of it, like an MP3 of it, let me know. Cool. But yeah, it's up to you. So this song, God, this is, when was it? Last year? No, 2019 we released, so my group, Delusionists, we released a 5-track EP called Clouds. with a kind of a different sound, because it had always been like traditional kind of hip hop prior to this, and we'd gone off, we'd listened to different sort of stuff. Brendan, one of the guys, was kind of making much more kind of modern sounding beats that I was more into at the time, and then Charlie came in as like what the other lyricist, and he came forward with this. So it was a beat of Brendan's that I said, right, we need to use this one because this is incredible. And Charlie went off and wrote something like really pretty introspective about him basically growing up. I think like being born premature and always feeling a bit insecure because of that, because he's a small chap, and just always feeling a bit like he's trying to make up for that. And it was all very much, and he talks about his mom in it and like how she smoked when she was pregnant and all this other stuff, and his relationship with women and all the like really like proper getting into the weeds about his upbringing. And as a rapper, you kind of it's a very competitive art form. Like, so he came with this beat that I loved already and put
with
this
the story
verse
like
and,
that,
and the chorus, and I was like, wow. I mean, I've always felt like I'm like the main guy. now I'm like, okay, the stakes have been raised. So I kind of just thought, well, and if you listen to, so my verse is the second verse, and it starts off with me talking about like I took a cue from how he started his verse. He sort of talks about the year he was born, and I think I mentioned my date of birth in the first line as well, and then talk a bit about my upbringing. But then it goes into like sort of like not really caring, being pretty carefree as a kid, but then having my own kid and having so I previously married, and that relationship broke down not long after he was born, and that was difficult, and that we had some interesting times spaced around that, and I had to fight kind of pretty hard to get to be his dad, to have him with me like half the time. Like, I had to properly throw everything at it, and that ended up being my take of Charlie talking about his childhood was me kind of touching on mine and then juxtaposing that with like my son's childhood and wanting him to have this same sort of carefree life and having his dad there to support him in his corner. And that's how that song sort of came about. And and I know that that's been the one that people, including yourself, have said like this kind of hits home, and it's nice to hear again affirmation that people kind of get something from it and relate to it a little bit.
Yeah, I think from like a musical acumen, like you're definitely on that group of people that I'd always say you should be better than what you are, or you should get more people listening to it than what you do. And I think that's immensely frustrating and heartbreaking as a musician to hear. And I know what it's like saying that to someone who's really invested in it, but the story that you tell through a lot of the tunes that you've been making, no, Ben, you should be writing stuff every week and releasing it. It's not as easy as that, and I know it's not, but for the quality of the music and what comes through in that, that second verse, like you said, it's heavy as shit in a great way. There's very, very few people that convey like emotion through a song and actually keep some sort of authenticity through their voice, whether it's podcasting, whether it's music, or whether it's just speaking to you like it has today. But I'm going to play music, otherwise I'm going to get very emotional with you and end up driving to London and kiss you on the mouth.
So. Well, let me give you one last little nugget about that song as well. I don't know if I've said this. I don't know if I've told anyone this before, but if you listen really closely, before Charlie's first verse, you can hear a baby crying.
Yeah.
And before my verse, you can hear a baby crying as well, like
Yeah.
very faintly in the background. So before Charlie's verse, that is a recording that I took when Corey was being born. So that's literally the first noise that Corey ever made. And then before my verse, it was exactly the same thing for Kingsley. So it's like
really,
literally the first sound that he ever made is before my verse, and the first sound that Corey ever made is before Charlie's verse. Let's just put that in there as a little thing, just so I can say to them when they get older, it's like that's like your first ever noise on that song.
Gave me chills then. But part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast is there's going to be a lot of people in our lives that we lose early. That's not to scare the life out of you. But
what have you heard?
Nothing that dark. Let's keep it. Where's the levity? But if it gets me upset. But if Jesse can look back at this and see his dad speaking to the lovely people that he knows in his life, and God forbid anything were ever to happen to either one of us, and for people to have this snapshot of what happens and how we are as people and as men, I think that's immensely important. But Ben, love you to bits, mate, and thank you for this.
You too, man. Thank you.
Yeah. I need a wee now. Where's that song? Hold on, let me try and play this, and then I'll move on to this. Take care.
I was born 3/11/88, early to the world and severely underweight. That's something I carry with me. I guess the missing kgs weighed heavy on my brain. See, it's hard to assert yourself physically. You ain't looked the part, I play cards with my dignity. The fun poker, self-deprecating humour, making others think it's safe to take the mick. Mate, I'm a loser cause I lost something. I got questions. Is it cause my mother smoked the whole time that she was pregnant? And my attitude to women wasn't right, that they would even show an interest was enough to spend the night. It's like I took all I could get. Cause if I didn't, I would think I'd never get it back again. Chasing it, making excuses, trying to play it ruthless, defined by my hang-ups like a noose is useless. That's how I used to feel, like there was nothing I could offer that was truthful, was real or honest. I promise to stop this, thinking I don't need a key cause there's probably a locksmith, probably a solution in the form of a solution. Now I know that isn't true, I use music for ablution. These are my confessions to myself, penance for a sentence of regression. Nowadays I'm someone else, but that white noise, it's like static to me. It shouldn't matter to me, that white noise, it's like static to me. It really shouldn't matter to me, that white noise, it's like static to me. It shouldn't matter to me, that white noise, it's like static in the air. I really shouldn't care.
I was born in 82, raised up in a sleepy town, said I'm gonna raise the roof, they told me to keep it down, but I kept it up, went from my brother's hand-me-down sweatshirts to a measured tux, and stayed fresh as I guess whichever way you dress it up, I've always felt blessed with the best of luck, and yet cursed with the sense I'm gonna mess it up at some point eventually, then brush it off as if it was never meant to be. Every lesson, every crisis, a confidence or dent in my pride, I would fight it with nonchalance, but I had to rise above that drone, wanna stand like a man, better get a backbone, but things weren't getting any better back home. Now the future of my little man's at stake, so I'm waiting for the magistrates, sitting opposite the lady that I used to love, trying to get some matters straight, pacing back and forth as they vacillate, and debate over my son's upbringing. Listen, I didn't come here for mudslinging, cause if everyone's flinging, it's the mud that we sink in. I just think he needs his actual dad, not a quick Mackie D's and the bachelor pad. Luckily they made the right choice, and everything around faded into white noise. Now I don't even recognize what that sound is. I put a low pass filter on that background hiss, that white noise.
It's like static